Wait, dude, are you homeless?
Yeah. Ew!
Hello, fellow students. Today we'll be discussing today's main issue: homeless people.
Ooh. Wait, but why is homeless people even bad for real? Like, I'd let it be TBH.
Actually, according to a research post on community solutions, it affects individuals and families because homelessness can cause disastrous consequences, like delays in development, educational setbacks, and the separation of families. Long-term homelessness can also cause dire consequences on one's health and well-being. Some reasons for this are systemic barriers to quality medical care and services, difficulties in obtaining proper medication and having a place to store it, and increased subjection to high-risk factors, and aversion to the healthcare system because of its previous negative experiences with the discrimination and stigma associated with homelessness.
Okay, but for real, no one cares about little jits for real. I ain't trying to knock no one up for real. Like, on golly. How does this John affect the community, bro?
Well, you see, without the security and stability of stable housing to approximately address their needs, homeless people tend to use mainstream service systems like hospitals and emergency healthcare services, child welfare, and income support much more than the average household fellow. So, community costs of homelessness usually take into account the financial costs related to these mainstream services and their usage by homeless fellows, along with the use of the homeless programs designed to help provide services and housing to homeless fellows in attempts to make them home fellows. So basically, it costs mucho dinero and many other services like healthcare.
Man, but for real, I ain't in no community, for real. I'm on my own independent person, and I don't need no man. I forgot. What is that line, bro? I got pregnant all on my own, for real. Man, for real, I ain't even in no community, for real. I'm on my own independent person type. I don't need no man. I got pregnant all on my own. How does this John affect society, though? Because low-key, we all sociologists up in his house.
Well, you see, homeless people lead to societal harms at national and global systems. An increasing homeless population provides a reflection of socioeconomic inequality in the nation. We see this with the U.S., as even though it's one of the richest countries in the world, the homeless issue highlights a large wealth inequality that is greater than most other developed nations. AKA, this is the amount of money the richest person has, and this is the normal amount of money, and this is homeless people. So, the fact that this wealth is all concentrated among the top 0.1% of people shows that the intricateness of inequality, racism, and ableism in our society.
But wait, isn't homelessness going down?
Actually, according to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, over 500,000 people are experiencing homelessness across the United States of America.
But isn't that a record high?
Why, yes. In fact, there was a 12.1% increase in homelessness year over year, which happens to be the largest increase since 2007.
Zooey mama.
Okay, guys, homelessness is a problem. Our goal is to reduce homelessness in the United States.
One question still remains. How do we solve this? So, let's put our thinking caps on and try to figure out a solution.
Wait, on an unrelated note, have y'all ever seen the famous movie quadrilogy, The Hunger Games, or like book series? You feel me?
Yeah, oh yeah, Peter was a straight bad.
Wait! Guys, I have a plan. Vidor might be right. Vidor, you go left, I'll go right. Axel, you're our eyes in the sky, and Esteban, you just be Esteban.
Figured it out. Guys, I got it. What about the...
The Homeless Hunger Games takes place yearly in the bracing Mojave Desert, with 6 contestants being selected from each state according to applications, 3 male and 3 female. These people are going to be randomly scattered across a large constructed arena, which contains various ruined buildings and interesting terrain, such as a pool in the center to incentivize interactions between players. Cold weapons, such as axes, swords, and spears, are going to be scattered across the arena as needed. The game is allowed to run as long as needed, but it's generally planned to end around 1 week into the event. with controlled events mostly revolving around the drawing of water resources. Oh, there can only be one winner, but various factions are encouraged in order to facilitate team cohesion. This game is entirely televised through various drone cameras and fixed cameras. Audience participation is incentivized as people can donate to communal pools for each. At certain points in the competition, drops according to donation levels will be released to each competitor. In the end, there can only be one winner of a vote, as the winner is given a monthly stimulus check and a house, as well as a cut of the donations.
Wow, that was a lot of rules. We gotta get someone on this now.
Okay then. We'll have to make an organization centered around us as the leaders and volunteers to go and into the public and spread the word on social media and outreach to the public. But how is any work gonna get done?
Well, if they don't do it, we'll just, take their homes away.
And the Sun membership will get people will get a cool token, yeah, like a trinket or a keepsake, maybe even a goodie, or even like a pen. Really like the Mockingjay pin given to Candace.
But who would ever support something like this?
Ordinary people living in cities, of course. As stated by the R Street Institute, many people associate growing crime with growing rates in homelessness.
So, in order to keep the cities safer, these people are gonna support the reduction of homeless people.
Exactly. We can reach these people by putting online advertisements and going door to door, getting volunteers manually.
There's a couple things that we're lacking though. We need a strong government influence and money. We also need charismatic people to help spread our influence.
Whoa, how much do you think this is all gonna cost?
Well, by running mostly on volunteer labor and receiving donations from our supporters, we can stay mostly afloat until we gain enough money to start hosting the homeless games.
And once we can start hosting it, we can gain the already large amount of money spent on homelessness. As stated by the Hoover Institution, $24 billion has been spent on homelessness by the U.S. government since 2019, and rates of homelessness since this finding was used has only increased more and more. Another reason why it is necessary to find another way to fix this issue.
That's more than enough. I think we got this whole organization stuff figured out.
Alright, for real, I get it, bros, but who's gonna enforce all at Johnson? Like, sure, gang, we might get an institution, but like, bros, there's no way we're gonna have the authority to do all that for real, and put people's lives on the line. You feel me?
Alright, yeah. Let's try to get the U.S. government on our side to help us with our campaign.
The U.S. government is unlikely to make such a sweeping reform in such a short time. However, the U.S. government is motivated extensively by one thing: money. We can pressure key changemakers by putting out the relative ineffectiveness and inefficiency of current existing homelessness programs. For example, according to the Hoover Institute and the California State Auditor, current homelessness plans in California are not terribly cost-effective. In addition, in order to build up our base of volunteers, we can contract the massive audience of the Hunger Games franchise, which brought in over $1.6 billion at the box office, according to Box Office Mojo, due to their dogmatic fascination with the concept of the Hunger Games. This can form the base of our support, after which we do protest, eventually securing interviews with key state and eventually federal legislators. Here, we can convince them that to do the homeless Hunger Games as an incentive to raise money, as we will be taking cut of the donations, along with the government. The HHG will also be paired with renewed efforts at providing support for the homeless population and renewed efforts at reducing homelessness in other ways. The homeless Hunger Games chiefly serves two purposes. At the popular level, it raises money to combat homelessness and support itself, as well as raising popular awareness about homelessness and therefore garnering donation. This will also shock the entire homeless relief system, as people who, through no fault of their own, have fallen into the trap of believing themselves unable to escape homelessness will be forced by the life and death scenario to make their best efforts. This will also put pressure on previous systems of homelessness relief, forcing them to economize and become more efficient in the face of a massive applicant program. In addition, since the homeless games are a federal program, it will put more pressure on the states to better their community-level homelessness relief programs, a pressure that will be backed by the federal funding coming first from an expansion of welfare programs, and then which is then offset by revenue from the games. If these tactics fail, we will be prepared to stage extensive protests outside of government offices, as well as extensive investigations into the deficiencies of current homeless programs. The government will most likely not agree to the idea at first, but with a publicity campaign using our volunteers, we will be able to obtain popular support to pressure small change makers and eventually large ones, along with ambitious politicians hoping to make a start. Many people will object on moral grounds, saying that using such an extreme measure to make change is fundamentally wrong. Santa Clara University outlines the principles of a famous philosophical theory called utilitarianism. You may have heard of this in the context of the trolley problem, sacrificing one passenger to save 5 people tied to the tracks. The same principle applies here, though with slightly different parameters. The comfort of many supersedes the pain of the few. While increased comfort for someone is not worth someone else's death, with sufficient numbers gaining comfort, someone else's pain eventually becomes morally acceptable. In this way, if the death of 300 people a year means a better tested and funded homelessness program, more public awareness about homelessness, and people feeling safer in cities, will end up being morally correct in the long term.
We need to rally a large fan base and volunteers to pressure key change makers with popular demands and existing welfare deficits. Once we do this, we can get the US government to introduce our organization as a federal bureau and have us maintain this homelessness issue in the US to enact the homelessness games along with all the benefits we've emphasized.